Hello, my name is Joachim Dalgard. I want to share with you some of the results from my master's studies in musicology from the University of Oslo. Absorption, somewhere between the heart and the brain, an empirical investigation of absorption using both qualitative and quantitative methods. I was curious to investigate what happens physiologically when we are captivated by music. To find out more about this, I did a concert experiment where I wirelessly monitored heart rate variability in an ecological concert setting. I did pre- and post-concert qualitative interviews and then asked all of the participants to self-report after they had experienced absorption. During a performance of Richard Strauss and Alpine Symphony, which was performed live by the Oslo Philharmonic Orchestra in the concert house, I monitored and probed these 20 participants who had advanced listening skills, meaning that they were educated in music or were professional musicians. The results were that I had a qualitative and quantitative investigation of what happens during experienced absorption. And I also found a decrease in heart rate variability during absorption in the younger participants. This suggests a difference between age groups in the cognitive load that is experienced during absorption. So what is absorption? Absorption has been described by numerous scientists since the 70s. The characteristics are, among others, a deep involvement with an object of consciousness. It involves total attention, effortlessness, non-volitional, it involves a loss of time, space, and ego, and it is intrinsically rewarding. It's something we look forward to, it's something we enjoy when it's happened. It is similar to other altered states such as ecstasy, flow, and peak experience. However, absorption evokes a sustained and focused attention and is not goal-oriented. Heart rate variability is the measurement of the ever-varying distance between each heartbeat. So what we want to investigate is how much the difference is between each heartbeat and how much it's changing in the course of a time window. I will here show you some examples from this concert experiment. Here we've zoomed in and we can tell here on the y-axis the distance between each heartbeat. So we can bear in mind that when the distance narrows, the heart beats faster. And when the gap becomes bigger, the heart beats slower. However, when we zoom out, we can see that this speeding up and this slowing down is mirrored by respiration, but also is affected by the autonomic nervous system, with low frequency changes happening over a longer period of time that are affected by the sympathetic nervous system, and variations that happen quicker that are effects from the parasympathetic nervous system. If we zoom out and look at the heart rate variability for one participant during the entire concert, we can see that there are quite a lot of changes. And we can also question to ourselves if some of these changes are due to what's happening in the music or to the experience of listening to the music. There has been some research on heart rate variability in music, and most studies have found an increase in the high frequency or the parasympathetic activity during sedative music, and an increase in the sympathetic activity during exciting music. However, most of these experiences are done in laboratory settings and they feature short music segments of 5 minutes or less. Research on HRV and altered states have found that during flow, the parasympathetic activity decreases and the sympathetic activity increases. This indicates that there is a mental strain involved during experienced flow, and that any feelings of effortlessness may be only subjective. Research on meditation has found a significant increase in both the sympathetic and parasympathetic activity, and hypnosis has found an increase in parasympathetic activity. No studies have been found on HRV and absorption, however. For my experiment, I first did a pre-concert interview with all of the participants. Then we probed them using a questionnaire. Then, while they were listening to the Alpine Symphony, I wirelessly recorded their heart rate, and they were asked to self-report by tapping on the monitor after they had experienced absorption. Then, with a recording of the concert, I interviewed all of the participants and played them sections of the music where they had self-reported, and we discussed what happened in the music and what they experienced during those moments. Here we can see the self-reported instances of absorption with a waveform of the concert and the 22 different sections of the music in changing colors. Underneath, we see the self-reported instances as tiny blocks, and we can see that some of these areas are more frequently self-reported than others. We can also see that some participants self-report more often than others. We see here again, section 13 and section 19 are frequently self-reported. A quantization of the self-reports show that section 13 and 21 are prevalent for self-reporting. 78.8% of all of the self-reports were made in the last 10 sections. This suggests that research on absorption should maybe use longer pieces of music, as absorption seems to happen further out into the concert. The concert lasted for 1 hour approximately. Results from thematic analysis of the qualitative interviews yielded 5 main themes and 15 sub-themes deriving from similarities between responses from all of the participants, but also from the literature on absorption. Absorption, listening location, music, concentration, and experiment were the 5 main themes. I don't have time to go through all of the themes, but I will share with you some quotes on total attention from a couple of participants, as well as on analytic and emotional listening states. One participant describes total attention as this: "It is like watching a beautiful avalanche from a distance. When you look at it, time stops a little and you observe this captivating vision. Then that is what one experiences and nothing else there and then. Then there is nothing between me and the music. The music is directly available inside of me. And like I said, this is what one hopes for, to forget about oneself and go all the way into the zone where you are directly, almost feel as one with the music." As many of the participants were full-time musicians or educated in music, they spent a lot of time listening to music or playing, and often shared the view of a separate analytic and an emotional listening mode. Following is a quote from one participant: "When I listen to symphonic or choral music or something similar, I often have what I call a professorial or analytical attitude, sitting with my arms crossed and now I'm going to listen and see if it's well played, even though it is classical, meaning that it's things I've heard before. But if it captivates me, if the music takes a hold of me and it is moving, then I let my shoulders down and I can participate in the music with the same mindset as an amateur or someone who is without a musical education. And that is a relief to me, because that is the reason why I started with music." So as we saw in the self-reported instances of absorption, we saw that section 13 was the most frequently self-reported area of the music. I will share with you 2 quotes describing their experience and what happens in the music, and then we will listen to an excerpt of a Norwegian broadcasting agency recording of the same evening as we had the experiment. One aspect here is quite simply the incredibility of the sound of the orchestra. That universe with all of those horns and those amazing string sections and how he uses the woodwinds. It is all so delicately done. There is so much space in the music. I think this was the contrast of the oboe having just one instrument, and this sort of contrast of really having the horns, well, all the brass basically with such high intensity, is one of those things that you cannot escape being affected by. Heart rate variability was recorded for the entire concert, but we used the self-reported instances of absorption as target periods. Before, we had a 1-minute buffer and then a control period. During those windows, we recorded or we investigated the RMSSD, the root mean square of successive differences. And we saw how big the differences were between each successive heartbeat. We then ran 3 paired t-tests between a baseline recorded before the concert and the difference between target and control. And we found that it did not quite reach statistical significance. However, as heart rate variability has been shown to decrease with age, we ran ANCOVA tests with age as a covariate, and we found a significant effect of condition, as well as a significant interaction effect of condition and age. This figure illustrates the ANCOVA with younger participants clearly having less heart rate variability during absorbed moments compared to a control period 1 minute after. In older participants, we see an inverse effect, with the target period having more heart rate variability than the control. To conclude, we have shown a significant decrease in parasympathetic activity in younger participants during absorption. This decrease suggests an increase of mental effort during absorption. This increase in heart rate variability in older participants suggests a difference of cognitive load between age groups. These findings demonstrate that heart rate variability may be a viable indicator of absorbed states during music listening, especially after controlling for individual differences such as age. Thank you.